On the dawn of my 10th birthday, we set out. As we soared, the lands of our kind showed us breathtaking vistas. Anywhere I turned, there was always something new to behold. No wonder. Our kind was made aware of my departure. The one who ran 1,000 days saw to that. In preparation for my historic journey, our kind clawed out valleys of gold, diverted rivers, and built cities in our path and wake. As we approached the wall of life, the glowing eyes of our kind grew scarce. Lands were left uncultivated, rocks unchiseled. The looming presence of the kingdom of death drove away even the most brilliant artisans. By nightfall, Consort and I left behind the tallest peak of the Wall of Life. Before us, the vast land of Equestria spread past the horizon. I recognized the landmarks of their southern border from my books, but they could not prepare me for the sight. We came upon a great forest. Far beneath us, in the darkness, a patch of light stood out. A humble pony village, home to no more than perhaps 100 nestled within the trees. We touched down at the edge, concealed by the forest.
"Are you certain?"
Consort asked.
"There is nothing interesting here. Our goal lies further to the north."
"Do not question me," I replied, stepping from behind the tree. A black Pegasus pulled me back.
"Then we must first become like them,"
Consort said.
"The Equestrians are quick to trust their own kind, but they are most wary of strange visitors."
The lands of our kind were closed to outsiders. The ponies, while often fearful of other kinds, were ultimately accepting. I'd read stories of griffins, ponies, donkeys, mules, and several other kinds living in communion. Indeed, the lesser kinds seemed eager to condemn their cultures to a fiery death in the melting pots of shared cities. But then, none of them had much to lose. My carapace boiled, and a green flame burned my mane away. I, the majestic queen, was replaced by a regular, dull red unicorn.
Now, shall we?
"After you, my beloved queen."
One would expect the village to feel bigger from the ground. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling of enclosure. The houses were tiny and cramped, often with only one floor. The greatest monument they had was a crude depiction of some bearded pony, shorter even than me, near the town square. I wondered whether these ponies ever left, surrounded by the forest as they were. To live a whole life on these streets, the thought made me shiver. I caught myself planning improvements for when this land became mine. The boorish houses of sticks and mud would make way for glorious monuments. But that would need space. The forest would have to go. Some of the books I'd read spoke of the ponies' legendary hospitality, provided you were one of their own. I walked up to one of the smaller homes and knocked on the door. Consort rushed to my side.
"With all due respect, my beloved queen, what are you doing?"
I knocked again, stronger this time. A window at the back lit up.
I came to learn about these things, and that's what I'm going to do.
"The ponies might be kind, but they have their limits. You cannot reasonably expect them to welcome a complete stranger into their home in the middle of the night."
Can't I?
I grinned.
Well, if we don't instantly become best friends, then I may just find out what an angry pony looks like. I am dying to know.
"No, my beloved queen, you are not really."
"Who's there?"
Came a grumpy, rusty voice from inside. A stallion, I guessed.
"Please,"
Consort whispered.
"allow me."
Hello, my pony brother,
I said.
My name is Red Mist. What is your name?
The lock clacked, and the door opened just enough for the stallion to cast a suspicious glare outside.
"Are you like a crazy pony?"
Honey?
I heard a new voice from inside, higher pitched this time. Probably his partner, his wife.
What is it?
The voice asked.
Who's that?
The stallion closed the door.
"I don't know.
I heard him say.
Some kind of weirdo couple."
"Excuse me,"
Consort called out.
We are but two weary travelers, and my friend appears to be very, very drunk.
I leaned in to whisper in his ear.
What did you just call me?
Work with me,
He whispered back.
Lean on my side. Quick, do it!
The door creaked open again, a little wider this time. The stallion inside shot Consort a questioning gaze.
I apologize for her behavior. She comes from a distant province, and she's not entirely accustomed to our ways.
The stallion sighed.
What can I help you with? Seeing my friend's inebriated condition, I must humbly ask to spend the night in your home. Dusk took us by surprise in the forest, and we have been trying to find a place to stay, but...
The stallion looked back to his wife. The wife shrugged.
Can't turn them down, can we?
She asked.
Oh, fine.
The stallion said.
Come in, but just tonight.
Consort sent me a smile, then stepped inside.
We'll be out of your hair by dawn, I promise.
What's the phrase?
Thank you.
I said, closing the door behind me.
Let's see.
The stallion began.
Where can we make space for you?
He walked through the house, lighting lamps on the way. There was a main room, bigger than the others, with a fireplace and an old, raggedy couch. Horrible yellowed white tapestry covered the walls, and the whole building smelled of pest repellents. The foul air made me gag. There weren't many rooms to explore. They had a kitchen where, judging by the crumbs on the counter, they also ate. There was a room with 2 beds, one big and one small. On the smaller one, a tiny pony lay. As I turned into the room, it pulled the covers over its head. The stallion lifted the side of the bigger bed, climbing under.
I think we got some of them old blankets. You can sleep in the living room. I hope you don't mind.
His words didn't interest me as much as the picture on his flank. I turned to Consort.
Is that the thing?
Cutie marks, they call them.
Consort whispered.
It shows their special talent,
I said, explaining more to myself than him. The pony's marks were similar to our names, in a way, except they had them crudely implanted on their hair and flesh. I'd read cautionary tales for the young ponies that talked about the dangers of trying to change their mark. Unlike our names, their marks were branded on them for life. This one had a hammer for a mark. Perhaps he was a creator too, a blacksmith or similar. The stallion rose, pulling out a dusty, rolled-up duvet.
Say,
He began, turning to Consort.
your friend's pretty tall. Where's she from?
Oh,
The mare sighed, putting a hoof to her forehead.
don't start, Hammer.
She hails from Germany province.
Consort said. How strange these ponies. Rather than live free under the stars, they clustered into arbitrary settlements, counties, provinces, where they stayed for generations.
I don't know nothing about them Germains.
The stallion replied.
But I thought they spoke more like frogs, croaking and barking. But your friend's hissing and clicking.
Don't pay attention to him,
The wife said.
He doesn't mean to be rude, really. He's just a little dense.
Throwing the duvet onto the living room floor, the stallion harumphed.
Well, excuse me for being a little grumpy. You two can sleep here, hope that's fine. Don't try to steal nothing. Not like we have much.
The concept of stealing relied on the pony's assumption that they owned anything on this earth. The world belonged to our kind. That he thought one of their own would steal from them was justification enough.
Goodness sake.
The mare shook her head.
Hold on a minute.
She disappeared into the kitchen, returning with a tray between her teeth, holding some pony food.
Apple pie?
She mumbled.
You must be hungry. I'm sorry it's not fresh, but please, have some.
For lack of a table, she placed the tray on the floor, shooting an angry glare at her husband on the way up.
As our apology.
The thought that I would put something that grew from the earth into my mouth was an insult in itself. Yet, the offer would have been most impolite to decline. My horn lit up green and tore me a bite. Consort helped himself to a piece as well. We exchanged a short look before biting. The taste of mud and dust filled my mouth. Maggots writhed on my tongue. Consort swallowed with a smile. I spat. The wife stepped back, surprised. The husband looked angry. Fascinating.
Too far!
He yelled, stomping over.
Get out!
I poked a hoof in the bedroom's direction, where the pony fledgling cowered under its blanket.
Did you make that?
Excuse me? The mare asked. I looked the two ponies over.
Do you love each other?
Enough is enough!
The stallion said, shoving me.
I want you out of my house!
As his hooves touched my skin, green magic wrapped around them. A thought cast the stallion at the wall. The mare's scream was cut short as I pounced on her. Green flames burned away my disguise. I leaned down to the trembling mare. I opened my jaws, devouring the fear that radiated from her eyes. With every sip I took, her eyes lost some of their shine. Hooves clopped on the floor. The stallion swung a chair at my head. With a spell, I stopped it before impact, twisting the chair from his grasp and throwing the stallion onto the floor. The mare was by now a hollow husk. It was the stallion's turn. Fear spiced by fury. I finished my meal. My head throbbed. The equestrian's love burned within my heart, and I was intoxicated by the heat. Consort sat in the corner, still in disguise, looking at the spent ponies. He was not smiling. The fledgling stood in the doorway, quaking, but making no sound. Green light enveloped it, and I brought it before Consort. Hungry? I asked.
No.
He replied, eyes still on the parents.
Thank you, my beloved queen.
Suit yourself, I said as the pony floated in front of me. I opened my mouth.
Please, let her go.
Consort said. He was looking at me now. Why would I do that?
You have fed, and I have lost my appetite. There is no call to harm the child.
The green glow dissipated, and the pony fell to the floor. I can't believe you, Consort. They are not of our kind.
I know how it feels to lose those close to you,
Consort replied.
I think the filly has suffered enough trauma for one night.
The flame in my heart died down. Beneath me, the fledgling was frozen in shock. I lay down before it, bumping its nose with the tip of a hoof. The only response was that sweet, terrified stare. I found myself giggling. Your parents will be fine in a day. I took a short glance at them. Maybe. You watch over them and call for help, but only after the sun rises. You will not speak of us. Understand? The pony stared. I put a hoof under its chin. Understand? When I pulled my hoof back, the pony nodded meekly. Good. I turned to Consort. Now then, I believe you wanted to show me Canterlot. Canterlot was the ponies' capital, so called for their conviction that this city was somehow more important than the others. Leave it to the ponies. This city, at the very least, didn't leave my eyes sore with its dreariness. The spires of Canterlot, I had to admit, were an imposing sight. I adored the way they incorporated rivers and waterfalls into the city vista. I may just keep this city, I had thought, after Equestria is mine. It appeared we'd arrived on a special occasion. According to Consort, the city was decorated even more than its usual splendor. Magical lights danced in rainbow colors above, flowers festooned windows and balconies, and the city teemed with life. Normally, Canterlot was a city of nobles, ponies who hoarded the largest part of their kind's wealth. Yet now the streets were filled with ponies from all walks of life. Consort and I were just another couple amidst the sea of new arrivals. A crier stuffed a flyer in my hoof. It was Coronation Day. It was at midday that the carnival began in earnest. Princess Celestia of Equestria had elected a new princess. The crowd was shepherded to the palace courtyard. There they corralled us to the sides, leaving a large, empty space in the middle. On the palace balcony, the new princess appeared. The newly crowned princess introduced herself as one Mia More Cadenza. As she prattled on about her gratitude to her friends and mentor, I asked Consort to translate her name. My love Cadence. We were much alike, she and I. The Princess of Love, she was pronounced. As her servants dragged her across the courtyard in a golden chariot, I saw the faces of her subjects. How they fawned and swooned at her gaze. Where most pony bodies repulsed me, her presence was enchanting. I found myself charmed by her grace. Let it not be said that I do not appreciate beauty. Princess Celestia watched over the scene from above. The frothing of her bottled-up emotions was invisible to the ponies, but an open book to me. Celestia smiled, for she was happy. She smiled, for she had to keep regret at bay. The ring of guards around her helped to further separate herself from the rest of her kind. It was easier that way. Why these ponies chose to devote their lives to a being who will outlive and forget them, I couldn't possibly imagine. Ants worshipping the oncoming hoof. As the chariot sped past us, something else caught my attention. The Princess of Love sent a sly look at one of the guards. He wore different armor, that one. It was painted in bright colors and was more ornamental, thereby even less functional than the armor of the rest. I leaned to Consort without taking my eye off the stallion.
Can you feel it?
He looked at the gilded guard and sniffed the air. Then his gaze turned to the princess in the chariot.
They are in love, my beloved queen. Immensely so.
The ruler and her servant. What a queer idea. My stay in Canterlot ended up longer than I first imagined. Consort and I stayed at a noble couple's mansion. Not that we relied on their hospitality this time around. We took their shape and replaced them. The servants didn't realize. It amazed me, the difference between this place and that humble forest home. These nobles were descendants of ponies who had done great things in ages long past. Why the deeds of their distant ancestors afforded them riches today, I couldn't wrap my mind around. The servants, although allowed to live with us, had to stay on the lower levels of the mansion and had no rights to our wealth. Save, of course, for the payment we had to give them every few weeks, which they promptly spent on food, music, and usually members of their opposite sex. Money served as a barrier between death and their pathetic existence. For money, they stooped to clean up after others too lazy to do so themselves. I admired their persistence. Their willingness to serve would, indeed, serve them well in the future. From time to time, we observed the petty rituals of nobility. In our free time, we vacationed to see the most delightful sights Equestria had to offer. In the land of ponies, meaningful change was scarce, for death quickly claimed their most brilliant minds. Yet, the kingdom of death was vast enough that there was always something new to behold. We grew complacent over time, so much that I sent Consort back to the lands of our kind to bring news of my well-being. I had him repeat this time and again during my stay. The most uncomfortable thing about our facade was sharing the bed. I knew enough about pony biology, and although we couldn't, and wouldn't, Consort explained this was of a symbolic significance. It wasn't until one of the butlers discovered the real nobles, hidden in a scarcely used corner of our deepest cellar, that things became complicated. I awoke in the middle of the night to a spear pointed at my face. I sat up, poking Consort. Several guards surrounded the bed, weapons at the ready. A shaking servant stood at the door, stuttering half words to one of them. I recognized the one whose spear was closest to my eyes. His ornate armor made him easy to discern, even in the dark. I pushed the spear aside with the back of a hoof, affording a theatrical yawn before speaking.
How may I help?
The guard moved the spear back.
I am Captain Shining Armor of the Royal Guard under Sun Princess Celestia of Equestria.
I rolled my eyes. I came all this way, yet the titles still hounded me.
You and your husband will have to come with us.
Consort and I exchanged a quick look.
I don't see why.
Consort said. In the hallway, 4 guards walked past, 2 appropriately pony-sized bags between them.
Well, there's a reason,
I said.
You'll have to come with us.
Shining Armor repeated.
Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Get out of the bed and let us escort you.
I smiled.
Oh, certainly.
My horn lit up, and our covers shot up from the bed, wrapping around Shining Armor's head. As he struggled to cut himself out, I jumped to avoid another guard's strike. With a spell, I tore a spear from a guard to whack a third one on the head. I only used the butt. No blood would stain this beautiful room on my account. Consort held his own. A spear broke on his back as he kicked a guard in the face. At the first opening, we started for the open window. Consort was closer and went first. As he leapt from the window, his noble unicorn disguise sprouted wings. I jumped right after him. My tail got caught, and they yanked me back, hitting my head on the windowsill. A spear flew out the window. Intended for Consort, I imagined. Green fire burned my tail away to free me from their clutches. I reached for the window, but magic surrounded my hooves and pulled me to the ground. They slammed the window shut. One stomped on my wing, and I felt something tear. Consort dove through the glass, showering the room with shards. He roared and screamed unlike I'd ever heard my kind do. He shrugged off the spears coming his way, throwing the heavily armored guards against the wall. In a second, he took me in his hooves and bolted out the window into the night. He dodged spears and outflew the chasing Pegasi, storming for the mountains above. All throughout, he breathed heavily through his teeth. Finally, with a sharp turn, he dove through a narrow crevice on the face of the mountain. We landed with an inelegant roll, slamming into a large, glowing crystal. At the impact, our pony disguises evaporated, and our true forms emerged from the green flames. I jumped to my hooves, scanning for pursuers. We were inside a cave, full of these purplish crystals, large and small. High above, a minute crack ran down the top of the cave. No ponies in sight. Consort coughed. He leaned against a crystal protruding from the ground, his carapace dented in countless spots.
Guess we did it,
He muttered. From cracks on his carapace, faint green light seeped. His mouth leaked green, droopy fluids.
I think my soul is fading.
I put my hooves around him and pulled him close. No, I said. You did it, you. Thank you, Consort. His lungs rattled with each heavy breath. His gaze wandered for a while before he looked at me.
Well, I suppose.
A sly grin crept up his face.
I did rather well, all things considered.
As I held him, I felt everything in him. His honor, his devotion to me, his surprise and pride at saving me. Every breath I took, I inhaled a whiff of his happiness. untainted by fear of death. His grin forced a smile on my lips, too. Before I knew it, I was laughing, pulling him even closer.
Spears.
He chortled, sputtering.
Iron, coal, wood.
He tapped on my chest plate.
They thought to hurt you with steel and wood.
He burst with laughter, unable to contain himself. I couldn't help but go along. But you showed them.
The glass, my beloved queen, cut down!
He thrust his hooves at me, tackling me in play. I fell over and he dropped onto me. He rolled off in a second.
I apologize,
He said between bouts of laughter.
I did that. I really did that.
I realized my wing didn't hurt anymore. Despite almost being captured, or worse, at the hooves of these lowly beings, my heart beat with joy. I felt like I did when I feasted on ponies. Whole. But this time, there was no searing pain in my chest. Only a feeling of utter contentment. Consort continued laughing. On his body, I saw no wounds. Consort, your carapace. He raised a hoof before his eyes.
Huh.
He hummed, standing up.
It would seem I really am just that good.
Don't get ahead of yourself now, I replied, getting to my hooves as well. Do you know where we are?
Do I?
He looked around.
Ah, the old crystal mines. They run through the mountain of Canterlot, extending into the bowels of the earth. Long ago, the pony tribes waged wars for a chance to plunder their treasures. Now they are all but forgotten. Again, a testament to their ignorance.
You know the way out? I asked. This much excitement has been enough for one trip. I'm aching to go home.
You cannot fathom how delighted I am to hear that,
Consort replied.
There are many ways out.
He pointed at the crack where we swooped in.
I don't suggest taking that one. They might still be outside. We'll just have to find another one. All the time in the world.
With that, we set out deeper into the mountain, watching for a tunnel that may lead to the surface. The glowing crystals, beautiful in their own right, lit our path. We didn't talk much in the meantime. It was best to focus on the task at hand. Though an indistinct giggling overcame us anytime our gazes crossed, even that died down over time. After a while, I wasn't trying to find an exit anymore. I enjoyed admiring the crystals with Consort. It was after an hour or so that Consort cleared his throat.
May I ask, my beloved queen, how many equestrian idioms have you learned?
I looked at him questioningly. I know a few. Consort looked away for a moment, licking his lips as if feeling guilty. He turned to me with a grin.
We really gave the one who ran 1,000 days a run for his money.
It took me a second. Then I burst out with laughter. So did Consort. Word of my return spread like wildfire. For weeks, candles and bonfires lit the nights, and the sounds of fanfare filled the day. Consort thought it best not to think about our preparations for war. The ponies were ignorant of our plans, and I needed time to rest. To celebrate, they erected cities lined by statues of me. They carved mountains in my image. As I traveled across the lands of our kind, millions followed, seeking a chance to bow down at my hooves. For my 11th birthday, whose hooves mold clay and stone built a city of porcelain atop what was once the field of roses. Christened the City of Poets, it resonated with beautiful songs day and night. The winds carried the music through the land, and all our kind feasted on its beauty. Yet in time, even the sweetest melody loses its taste. Things would have to change again. Consort and I sat in the city center, architectured to amplify every note. The rest knew to stay away, lest they disrupt the songs. Our peace was disturbed by the frantic arrival of the one who ran 1,000 days. He quickly dusted himself before dropping to the ground, eyes closed and mouth running.
I came as soon as I could,
he jabbered.
I'm truly sorry for the interruption, but...
I stomped. Rise, what is it?
Incident at the forge. The volcano. The mountain collapsed.
I gaped. Impossible! You build cathedrals overnight, yet you can't construct a few tunnels?
The construction was perfect,
he wheezed.
It was no accident. Sabotage!
What? Did the ponies learn of our plans?
That's the worst. It was our kind. Cenotaph.
Casualties?
Hundreds. Almost everyone. It was a massacre. Blacker than black that bends anything he touches gave his life to save who he could.
What of the equipment?
Most of it has been buried or melted, our beloved queen who...
I didn't hear him finish. A seething hatred flared up in me. Cenotaph. Betrayers turned murderers. I took a deep breath and shot to the sky. Above the singing city, I screamed. Silence! Mouth by mouth, the city of poets fell silent. Consort flew up beside me. I turned to him. Empty the city. Bring the survivors of the forges to me. I want to know everything. By the time I'd listened to their accounts, all 12 of them, the sun had gone down. The citizens of Cenotaph had appeared and swooped down in throngs. They knew exactly which structures to strike to bring the tunnels down. The forges were upturned, the seething lava filling the crevices of the mountain. Those fleeing were thrown back or struck down. They didn't fight back. How could they? To raise a hoof on our own kind. Unimaginable. Upon my porcelain palace, I sat atop a balcony that overlooked the empty city. Creeping roses clung to the walls around the balcony, a reminder of the field. Consort floated beside the balcony, wings buzzing quietly.
An unspeakable crime, my beloved queen. I would never have imagined they were capable.
They are! I yelled. My voice echoed through the city. The workers! How old could they have been? Hundreds of years? Thousands? And they took it all away. All out of hatred of me.
I urge you to strongly consider your course of action.
Consort responded.
Clearly, those of Cenotaph are opposed to the war effort.
What is there to consider? I snapped. Murderers! All of them! I want the city wiped off the face of this earth! I want their heads on pikes!
Or you could forgive them.
Consort said.
Cease your plans for war. Show them that you listen.
I can't believe you, Consort, I replied. Forgive them? Are you mad? They refuse to forgive queens!
Understand that I will stand by you no matter what you decide. As your consort, however, I will always stay an advocate against violence.
He sat down beside me.
Do not mourn the lost. To have our lives end at your service is the greatest honor. Few are those who think otherwise.
Those of Cenotaph are among them, evidently, I said. We have to start over. Weapons, armor, so much lost.
Your predecessor, may she rest among the stars, brought with herself all those who had the slightest knowledge of warfare. You know what happened to them.
Consort leaned closer.
Like I said, perhaps you should reconsider your plans.
From the wall, I picked a rose. Those in the mines, they had spent their lives devoted to the queens. To me. When those of Cenotaph came for their lives, they didn't so much as fight back. I held the rose out. Unclenching my hoof, a gust carried it away. They were no more averse to their demise than a rose in the wind. Ultimately, their tragedy meant nothing to me. Yet, a queen must tend to her garden. I turned to Consort. I will not be remembered as a failure. Cenotaph must be punished.
Please,
Consort said.
let me go to them. I know they can be persuaded. They can forgive the queens.
What makes you so sure? Consort opened his mouth, but choked on his word. He looked away briefly to take a breath.
I have forgiven the queens too.
Consort insisted they would listen to him, being one of them. He would convince them to abandon their blasphemous hatred. For if he could change, so could they. From the broods of those lost at the volcanoes, I rallied an eager army. I called upon he who tames dragons to lead them. They weren't many. A mere 200 dared to answer my call. With a lust for revenge in their hearts, I needed no more. The army surrounded Cenotaph. I hoped the message was clear enough. Consort entered the city at dawn with a small escort. Disguising myself as one of them, I accompanied him. Every eye in the city turned to us as we descended among the empty tombs. Cenotaph marinated in grief. I could taste it in the air. It radiated from the walls and poured from every window. We alighted atop a towering monument that listed names on every side, and the city gathered around us. From there, Consort preached of the foul creatures of the kingdom of death. He preached of revenge and justice, of lives lost but not wasted. For hours the city listened in silence. For a long time, they remained on the ground. As a show of respect or confusion, I couldn't tell. Consort preached of the Queen's forgiveness, provided they joined the war. Something snapped inside the crowd. The silence was broken, first by quiet murmurs, then by angered shouts. The faceless voices accused Consort of being a traitor, the Queen's pet. They asked how he could speak of forgiveness. Consort was not deterred. He preached of the Queen's wondrous plans, of the riches of the kingdom of death, but the crowd could no longer be sated. One flew into the air, coming level with us, but keeping his distance.
You dare show your face here!
I recognized him as the architect of the Chapel of Tears for the Lost.
Have you forgotten our brothers?
Another flew up, closer this time.
Go back to your tyrant!
I clenched my fangs. A stone flew through the sky, its arc coming to an end at Consort's face. He grunted, putting a hoof over the place of impact. In him, I sensed sadness and love. He loves those of Cenotaph, and now his heart was breaking. Shall we leave? I whispered. He thought for a moment, then shook his head. Around us, more and more took to the sky, and they inched closer and closer. I exchanged a look with the rest of Consort's escort, a group of 3. One of the flyers spoke up.
Your queens have sent thousands to their deaths, and now she repeat it!
What would we be without our beloved queens?
Consort asked back, his voice wavering.
Perhaps we should see,
one of them said, rocketing for Consort. I and another escort stepped in the way. We grabbed him, but not before he could shove Consort.
We don't need your queen,
he said, struggling.
Even now she has us surrounded,
another one said.
Why do you think that is? I'd rather die than heed the tyrant.
It is only to ensure you will not hurt anyone else,
Consort said. I couldn't tell whether he believed it himself. He probably wanted to. The swarm around us stirred. Consort turned to me. With a deep breath, I nodded upward twice. That was the signal to leave. Consort took off, and we flew after him. The swarm closed above us. They flew at us, too many to hold them back. They pushed through the escort to get to Consort. We fought back, but Consort didn't. I saw them pin his wings and drag him down where countless more waited for him. They kicked and bit and shouted, yet all Consort did to defend himself was speak. His words were drowned out by the swarm. If I managed to kick one of them off, 2 more took his place. The swarm swelled, wings buzzed, and I couldn't see Consort at all. I used my magic to throw them left and right, yet they kept coming. I endured their kicks and jabs of their horns, retaliating with my own. An animal they turned me into. That was enough. Green fire enveloped me, restoring my true form. Those who held me gasped and let go. Around me, as more and more noticed, the air began to clear. They were backing away. They could easily have overpowered me, yet my presence struck terror in their hearts. Weak-minded fools. Disregarding the rest of the escort, I flew for Consort. On the ground below, I saw the swarm throb. I swooped down with great speed. Those between us who were too slow to notice were cast aside in green light or rammed outright.
Let him go!
I screamed. Dozens of glowing eyes stared up at me from below, curiously at first. In the next split second, they too looked mortified. In the next, they began scrambling out of the way, jumping, tumbling, and trampling over one another. I landed, legs trembling. Consort lay at my hooves, carapace battered and wings half plucked from their place. His eyes had lost their glow. Had I been too slow?
No! No! No!
I took him into my lap.
Come on! You're stronger than this!
Too simple. Too quick. Is this all it took? He didn't respond. I noticed I was rocking back and forth, Consort in my hooves. My lips contorted. Slowly, a grin settled on my face. I started laughing.
You're better than this!
I shook him.
Wake up!
The city had gone quiet. The buzzing of wings was gone. I heard hooves drop onto the ground. The rest of the escort team alighted beside me, beaten, but not broken. I lowered Consort's body. Those of Cenotaph, they were all around us, all on the ground. They kept their distance, 10, 15 paces. In their eyes, I saw confusion and fear. In the air, I tasted hatred. I sensed no regret. I looked back at Consort. So, this is how it feels. I let Consort go, standing up. As I looked the murderers in the eye, a new fire flared up within me. The heat consumed my heart, my body, my very soul. It boiled within me until I could no longer contain it. I screamed, fangs bared, inarticulately, without meaning or purpose. The burning fury drove out the cold sorrow that filled Cenotaph. I saw them all take a step back. A few stumbled, only to continue crawling away. I knew they could feel it. The anger, the seething hate! Good, I thought. Their fear would sweeten tonight's feast. I took Consort into my hooves. To the questioning looks of the escort, I again nodded twice. They watched us leave. I called before me he who tames dragons. By my word, those of Cenotaph were no longer of our kind. I told him they had one night. If a single soul escaped, I would have the soldiers' heads as well. None would escape, of course. I was there to make sure of that. Such it was that Cenotaph became the city of graves. Dawn broke on 151 survivors. 152 hearts broken forever. At the base of the spire, I dug into the hallowed earth with my own hooves. May the greatest consort to our beloved queen and her teacher, mentor, friend, servant, and he who will carry her ashes and the ashes of her daughters, rest among the stars. I thought that watching the culling of Cenotaph would mend my ruptured heart. Yet the next day, I awoke with a greater wound. A gaping emptiness ate away at my being. Everything lost its taste. One thing kept me alive, the knowledge that the kingdom of death would be mine. It would all be worth it. Consort's death had taught me the devastation of a broken heart. I thought of Equestria, of Cadenza, and I realized I would need no greater army. 151 would be enough. The one who ran 1,000 days was sent to deliver a message to the ponies, that Canterlot would fall. Change. Change was coming to Equestria. On the day of my wedding, they prepared a bouquet of flowers by my mirror. I picked a rose from the batch, twirling it with my magic before placing it onto my mane. This day was going to be perfect. I did not love the groom, for in my heart there was no room. Shining armor would be mine. That day was going to be perfect. For years after my failure, I didn't change a thing. Our kind never forgets. In my fevered dreams, faces of the lost haunted me. For my 16th birthday, I had Cenotaph rebuilt, greater than it had ever been. It had to be. For my 17th birthday, he who wrote the first song orchestrated a requiem. For a year, 500,000 tongues in the city of poets sung for the lost. Flavorless. My body swelled with horrid green pus. My form, once slender and sleek, became bloated and rugged. My every pore oozed with liquid. I was hideous. On the dawn of my 20th year, I birthed my daughter. My animalistic shrills echoed through the diamond walls. "Your leg, the one who ran 1,000 days," I panted. He stretched out a hoof. Pushing, I bared my fangs and bit down on his leg. It helped with the pain and muffled the screams. The egg was as big as my head. Over the course of the coming year, it would grow to rival my size. I lamented that she will remember me. My actions would be passed down for eternity. I wished for oblivion. I thought of ending my life before my daughter came to be, but I was a coward. I hoped that our beloved queen, who shall not repeat past mistakes, will live up to her name. It took weeks for my abdomen to shrink. I would never regain my youthful beauty. In the halls of remembrance, the shriveled husk of my chrysalis had never been moved. I sat atop the terrace, looking to the wall of life. Come here, Ran. The one who ran 1,000 days sat down at my side.
Yes, our beloved queen?
I didn't turn to him. The day approaches.
I shan't leave your side,
Ran said. They might kill you, I replied.
Then I will be glad to go.
He sniffed.
I shall forever miss you.
That made me smile. You're 455 years old. I think you'll get over it. He looked to the north as well. He fidgeted a little before turning back to me.
Our beloved queen, what if they refuse to give me your ashes?
Then I will not speak to my daughters. They will have my memories either way. Nothing of value might be lost. I could tell Rand didn't like that, but he was afraid to mention it.
Shouldn't you pick out a place in the Spire of Ancients?
I trust your judgment, Ran. I turned to him. We'll set out tomorrow. From Equestria, one could not see the spire. Fitting. I'd never have seen the majestic pinnacles of Canterlot had I not crossed the Wall of Life. Ran flew behind me, his long cape waving in the wind. He was squeamish about returning to the Kingdom of Death. I had to take the lead. Our disguises were inconspicuous enough. 2 dull-colored Pegasi. We wouldn't use them for long. In Canterlot, I could not feel the energies of Cadenza. When I inquired from the haughty citizens, they acted as though I were insane. The princess had not been to Canterlot in years. The purple busybody had apparently sprouted wings and taken her place. Ponies changed faster than I thought. The flight was long, but I didn't stop to feed. I knew Rand could take it, and I had to. Time was running short. Cadenza lived in a warm, magical sanctuary far in the frozen north. I admired the crystalline architecture. Had I seen this earlier, I could have done something similar back home. Alas, it was too late. The princess wasn't hard to find. She held court at the center of her crystal palace. The majestic throne elevated her above the congregation of guards and petty nobles. Her beloved prince was the closest to her, but still several steps lower. The girl had her priorities in order. As Ran and I alighted, the guards clenched their weapons, and Cadenza shot us a questioning look.
I am not expecting visitors.
I looked at Ran, and he at me.
Good luck,
I said.
You too,
he replied. A burst of brilliant green flames blinded the ponies. A second passed before they saw us. Ran and I exchanged another mischievous look. Fear descended on the room like a sudden blizzard. Shining Armor's boiling fury washed away the cold. Within a moment, the guards were upon us. We did not resist. Pinned to the ground, I once again had the pleasure of greeting the guard captain's spear in my face. I wondered if he'd ever made the connection.
Chrysalis,
Shining Armor said. Is that what you call me? I asked, chuckling. Do I remind you of the things that crawl in the dirt? How uninspired. He responded by sticking the spear closer. Had I not pulled away, that thrust may have got my eye.
I don't know what you're planning, but I won't wait to find out.
He turned to another guard.
Restrain them and bring them to the dungeon. Separate cells.
That guard quickly leapt out a window. I sighed. You know you can just ask, boy. He didn't respond. The other guards prodded my carapace with their spears, and one told me to rise. The guard who had left now returned, bringing 2 sets of bindings with him. They used their magic to lock them around our legs and wings. Then came the prodding again, this time towards the stairs. I started moving. With my hooves bound together, I couldn't go very fast. The prodding continued, as if they didn't realize. Barbarians. I looked over my shoulder at Cadenza. She sat on her throne, feelings of fear and hate bubbling in her.
Aren't you going to ask why I came?
A guard shoved me, pressing me forward. I heard the fluttering of wings. Cadenza landed nearby, behind a wall of guards.
Why?
She asked. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Since when did ponies build dungeons? It was most uncharacteristic of Cadenza. Perhaps she inherited the palace. Yes, that made sense. The cell was barely enough to turn around in. I'd have shrunk had they not sawed my horn off within the first hour. I hoped Ran was okay. There was much moving around for the first day. I imagined they checked every last guard and citizen in the city to make sure we hadn't infiltrated them. Foolish, yet who could blame them? At any given moment, Cadenza had at least 6 guards posted at my cell. The mayor herself, however, didn't show up for a long time. The first day was boring. My graying carapace began shedding, and I started playing with the scraps. On the second day, hunger grew. The black, dry bricks and iron bars were devoid of emotion. I couldn't feel my wings anymore, but that might have been the binding's fault. It was a nice surprise seeing Cadenza's face on the third day. Her appearance brought with it a whiff of fresh air, the smell of flowers, crystals, and even some snow. I gorged myself on the taste of deep thought that emanated from her.
Your changelings are nowhere to be seen,
Cadenza said, sitting down a safe distance outside the bars.
Whatever your plan is, I'm not seeing it.
I chuckled. I already told you why I'm here.
You expect me to believe that?
Yes. She raised her eyebrows. I recognized this sign of intrigue or surprise. Under the watchful eyes of her guards, I told my tale. I spoke of our people and the queens. I told her about change. She left before I got to the wedding. She was back the next day. I sensed curiosity. I weaved the story on. I told Cadenza of the hundreds I killed. I told her my plans for Equestria. I told her of my failure. She left before my daughter came to be. The next day, she came to me again. I told her of my daughter and what I expected from her. I told her that she would remember me, and that my memories would be passed down for endless generations. I explained that my 20th year was coming to an end. She left when I told her I had 2 days left on this earth. On the next day, she didn't show up. Night passed, and morning came, yet Cadenza was nowhere to be seen. I began making peace with my cell as my final tomb. It was hard to keep track of time in there. In the end, Cadenza did come. She didn't speak to me at all. When I opened my mouth, she silenced me by raising a hoof. She nodded at a guard. He took out a key and opened the lock. Cadenza motioned towards the stairs. An entourage of guards led me to the top of the Crystal Palace. With wings bound and shackles around my hooves, it was hard to scale the stairs. They threw me onto a balcony before retreating to the palace. After a few lonely minutes under the declining afternoon sun, Cadenza flew by. She perched behind me. I didn't feel like turning.
Who is the other one?
She asked. He is my consort. I would appreciate it if you brought him to me. the flapping of wings. I was alone again. The sun neared the horizon. I couldn't even see the wall of life from here. Movement. Chains rattled. Rand skipped over, fighting against his bindings. How considerate, I thought. They even returned his cape. He tripped and tumbled into me. He stayed leaned against my chest, showing no intentions of rising.
Days spent alone,
He muttered.
dark, cold, hungry.
He shivered. Had my hooves not been bound, I'd have embraced him. I set my chin on the stump of his amputated horn. Even now, Ran adored me. I sensed his strength return just by being near me. Had I been a better queen, I'd have returned his love sooner. Cadenza sat behind us. I lifted my head, pushing Ran away as I raised my hooves. Grinning, I waved my shackles in the air. Would you be so kind? Cadence's horn lit up. Faint blue light surrounded our bindings, and they fell undone to the floor. Thank you, I said. Ran wrapped his legs around me, and I laid a hoof over his back.
You don't deserve it,
Cadenza said. I turned forward. The sun kissed the red horizon. If I am to be remembered, I do not want to be hated. I am sorry, Princess Mia More Cadenza. She was silent for a while. The sun began sinking behind the horizon.
I accept your apology.
Of course she forgave me. Or if she hadn't yet, she would in time. That's the nature of ponies. Ironic, in a way. Our kind could have learned much from them. I could have been the catalyst. As the horizon swallowed half the sun, I felt a crack in my back. I twitched, and Ran pulled away.
Here,
He said, laying out his cape on the balcony.
sit on this. I shall collect your ashes in it.
Standing up was more difficult than I thought. My body creaked and cracked with every movement. I dropped onto the cape with a tired sigh. Cadenza stepped closer.
Does it hurt?
I laughed quietly to myself, putting a shaky hoof under Cadenza's cheek. Thank you for asking, dear. I've had worse. When I put my hoof down again, I realized I could no longer feel the crystal floor beneath me. I tried to shuffle around and shift my weight, but my legs didn't respond. The sun was almost completely gone. My front leg gave way first, snapping in half. Then my right detached from its shoulder. I fell forward. I couldn't feel my hind legs. Did my back break in two? In these very moments, my daughter was fighting her way into this world. I saw the pink pony lower her head. Or was she gray? Colors were smudged and shapes were blotched. The darkness did not scare me. There are things I could never forgive. I've done more that cannot be forgiven. Yet, here I was. So much could have been avoided. I wish I'd have been a better queen. Consort had tried to show me. On my better days, perhaps, I even understood. It's a shame I forgot. For all the lives I had cast away. For all the suffering I had caused. Had I made a difference? Just as the origins of the spire had been lost, so do the sands of time bury the greatest legends. Could my flicker of existence matter an eternity hence? The stars beckoned me. For the first time, my heart felt whole. And so I go, like a rose in the wind.
In my life, I have found two things of priceless worth: learning and loving. Nothing else, not fame, not power, not achievement for its own sake, can possibly have the same lasting value. For when your life is over, if you can say, "I have learned," and "I have loved," you will also be able to say, "I have been happy." Arthur C. Clarke.